The title of the talk today is simply getting it done in the field. Getting it done in the field, a real system to getting your team to follow process in the field. In the beginning, I called this talk really how to get your text to sell in the field, but I wanted to make it, which we're going to be talking about today, but I wanted to make it more all-encompassing. And what this talk today is really about is, tell me if this, like a few quotes here sound familiar. Hey, my text won't ask for Google reviews. Does that sound familiar? Hey, I can't get my guys to close tickets or add notes to the job, right? They're not updating the software as they need to in the field. Hey, I have a pricing system, but my guys aren't following it. They're not estimating the right way. They're not pricing jobs the right way. My team just doesn't follow process in the field. Does any of that sound familiar? If you've said any of these, this talk is for you. This talk is all about how to actually get your team in the field to do the stuff that you need them to do, right? It's probably one of the most relevant issues that come up consistently. Brother Terrence, I'm going to go ahead and mute your mic too there, just to let you know. If you do have a question, you can chime in. A lot of time, if you could raise your hand, if you know how to raise your hand in the thing, that would be great. But also, if you just want to unmute your mic and ask a question, that's okay too. But as coaches, we have experienced probably this issue more consistently than most others. And it's the issue of, hey, I'm growing my business. Good stuff is happening. It's not all dependent upon me, but when I start to hire people, that's when stuff breaks down. I can't get them to follow process. I'm trying to get them to offer Google reviews. Gosh darn it, Nicole, I am offering them an incentive. I tell my guys they get $10 per Google review. They still won't do it, right? This is all stuff that I think is pretty familiar to most business owners, most contractors here. And that's what we want to talk about here today. We want to talk about how to overcome this stuff. You know, the reviews, like we've mentioned that a couple of times, it's just one system. The real issue is just getting technicians to follow process in the field. It could be a price book, it could be software, it could be uploading photos, it could be ticket notes. And here's the thing I want to talk about, and then we're going to get right into the first kind of slide, which is what it's about. I want to kind of reframe this early, because this isn't just a technician problem. This isn't just a people problem. This isn't just oh gosh, you know, there aren't a lot of plumbers out there. Therefore, the journeyman plumbers that are out there know that they can get a job anywhere and they don't have to do what I ask them to do. It's not really that just problem. There may be some of that comes up. But I'd say most of the time it's not that. A defiant employee isn't the problem most of the time. It is a problem some of the time, not most of the time. It isn't just a technician problem. The owner, you are part of the equation too. And I know that may be heavy to hear for a second, because I'm not necessarily saying you are all to blame for someone not following process in the field. But a lot of times owners just don't know the steps to take to get people to get stuff done in the field. And therefore it doesn't happen. So that's what I want to talk about today. So first thing here, let's talk about you owners. Let's talk about you guys. Well, we'll first go over the kind of 5 things that we're going to talk about today, right? I have really 5 kind of main ideas I want to cover. So the first thing is the owner's role in training, right? What is your role as an owner? And why most techs were never actually shown what to do the right way. I told them what to do. Well, did you tell them once, or did we actually train them, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is going to be about recruiting. Recruiting gives you leverage. And really the concept is how a pipeline of candidates really protects your standards of excellence as an owner, right? The other thing about recruiting I want to talk about today is how this should just be a part of your business. Just as much as putting together a proposal as a part of your business, just as much as booking an appointment with a lead is a part of your business, just as much as creating a schedule for a project as a part of your business. Recruiting should be a part of your business in that same sense, right? So we're going to be talking about that. Then we're going to be talking about specifically about getting Google reviews in the field, because it's something that we're so big on here, right? We really believe that your Google business profile is the single most important marketing channel for contractors, all contractors, right? So how to actually get more Google reviews in the field. Then we're going to be talking a little bit about flat rate price books and offering options. This is kind of where the sales portion comes in. I'm also going to be talking a little bit about how technicians and salespeople can a lot of times sell out of their own wallet. Does everyone know what I mean by that? What I mean by that is people can sell out of what they think is too expensive or the right price based upon their personal judgment calls of the situation, right? And I've got a fun story there about how I almost did this one time and I was like totally wrong, right? And then lastly, we're going to just be talking about getting techs to follow field processes, right? We're going to be talking about, hey, let's get people to follow the software, upload the photos, update the invoices correctly, right? And how to create that kind of accountability, right? So that's what we're going to be covering today. Let's get into the first thing, the owner's role in training. Most techs aren't terrible. Most techs, I would say, aren't even defiant. Most techs were never properly shown what to do, right? Let's talk about it. A lot of times there is what I like to call an assumption gap between what you as the owner have communicated versus what the tech has actually heard, right? A lot of times as an owner, you think to yourself, well, hey, I communicated this clearly, right? The tech should know what that needs to be done in the field. I told them what to do, right? But the tech is thinking, well, hey, I remember like hearing that once at a meeting, but I didn't know how serious you were, or I didn't really know how to do it. And I didn't want to ask questions because I didn't want to look dumb. And that's what I like to call the assumption gap, is there's this assumption that owners have about what they've told their team or the kind of training that they've done, when the reality is that person is still just as lost because we haven't taken the right kind of time with them, right? So I have this like comparison chart, right? Telling does not equal training, right? Whoa. So what most owners do is they'll mention it once in a team meeting. Hey guys, this is the system we want to follow. Here it is. Let's go follow it, right? Mention it once in a team meeting. Most owners will also assume the team should just get it because it's common sense, right? If you find yourself saying that a lot, well, to your team, it's common sense. The common denominator is not that your team lacks common sense. It's there's a lack of properly and thoroughly going through something to get people to do it. Saying that it's common sense, another way of saying that is kind of like an avoidance statement. It's like, well, I think this should be obvious and I don't want to have to go through this with you, so I'm just going to blame it on common sense. When in reality, it's just avoidance, right? Most owners get frustrated when something doesn't happen. I get frustrated when stuff doesn't happen, right? When I go over system and think I communicated, I have a tendency to get frustrated if it doesn't happen the way it wants to. But I've had to learn, okay, there's probably some gap. I know my team isn't just like out to just do the wrong thing. And if the right thing isn't being done, there probably was something that I didn't communicate clearly or didn't demonstrate, even though I feel like in my head I said it, right? I kind of take that ownership. Most owners blame the techs. Oh man, I just can't find good techs. My techs are terrible. I can't grow my business because of my techs, right? Compared to what real training looks like. The first part of real training is a consistent set time just dedicated to training. Honestly, how many people out there are doing that right now? How many people out here have a consistent set time dedicated to training. And it could be one-on-one with a team member. It could be as a team, right? But that's your first question. Do you have a set time to train? Are you actually role playing in your shop together, or does the role play feel so awkward you just avoid it entirely? There are such great things that can happen from role playing, right? And when you think about role playing, you're going to not want to do it every time because it feels awkward and oh, this isn't real, it isn't situational, right? It's avoided. But role playing is probably the single most valuable form of training that you can have with a tech. Actually going through the process with someone. Okay, I am, and here's how I like to start role playing. You be the homeowner, you be the customer, I'll be the tech, right? You role play first as the owner and then role play with them, right? Show them how it's done in role playing, then role play with them. Sitting together with the tech and doing it together if a mistake is made. It's not getting frustrated and yelling at the person. It's pausing, sitting down with someone and saying, hey, let's figure out what in the system went wrong here. Okay, it looks like there's still some misunderstanding on this part. Let's do that together. Let me show you how to do that, right? And then practices the awkward moments before they happen in the field, right? That's more kind of that role playing idea of, hey, we're going to simulate the kind of things that can come up in the field, the kind of objections we could get. We're going to simulate that before they happen so that we're experienced when they do happen, right? I think at the end of the day, the owner's responsibility is really big on training. And I want owners to ask yourselves, hey, if your team isn't doing something well, did you actually follow these steps, right, to show them how? And there's a few questions I want to give you guys that you can use to actually audit your training, right? So what I want you to do is I'm just going to go through these few questions. As I'm going through these questions, really think about, am I doing these things? If you're having problems with people in the field, think about, am I doing these things, right? First thing is this. Do you have the systems that you want people to follow written down? Is the stuff written down in a checklist, in a document? Is it written down somewhere of the steps that you want someone to follow, right? Is your Google review process when asking for a Google review written down? Is how to present options to a customer, how to present price? Are these things written down? That's the first kind of line. Secondly, if it's written down, is it shared in a way with your team that you know that they can access? Can they quickly access the thing that you wrote down when they're in the field? Or is there kind of cumbersome problems getting access to it when they're actually out there doing it, right? Because what's going to happen is they just ignore it. Have you reviewed each step of the thing written down together? Have you actually gone through the boring work of each step of the system with the person, right? Have you shown them how to do it beyond just reviewing the steps? When a mistake is made in the field, are you referring back to the system with them when a mistake is made? Hey, I noticed that on this part of the system, you did great. And then on step 3, things fall off. Just a reminder, we've got the system. Step 3 of that system is really important. Here's how to do it. Are you referring back to the system when a mistake is made, right? And getting specific. Are you meeting one-on-one with the individual if problems continue to arise, right? Are you identifying which parts of the system that they didn't follow? Then lastly, do you follow these steps of the system yourself? Do you follow the steps of the system you want your team to follow yourself? And if not, that's okay. But if not, it's an opportunity to ask yourself, do we need that step in the system? Why is the step there if it's not being followed by you as the owner? Right? So this one is really big. I know we've spent a lot of time on it, right? It's probably the most important point. The main idea is this. As an owner, you have to take responsibility. Instead of just blaming the techs, getting frustrated, whatever, when stuff doesn't happen, use it as an opportunity to say, have I actually trained the team thoroughly to do this thing? Right? And then audit yourself with those questions. Have I written the system down? Am I referring back to the system? Am I showing the team the system? Have I told everyone the system, right? Is it in a way that they can access? It's the owner's responsibility, right? Next thing here is recruiting. Recruiting gives you leverage. You cannot build a culture of accountability if you're held hostage by your hiring gap. I think this is the biggest thing that causes owners to be hesitant in getting rid of a difficult employee when they know that they need to, right? Like in some cases, you may tell yourself, as I was going through those questions, hey, Robert, I've done that stuff. I've communicated clearly. I've role played it with the team. I've set a standard. I've inspected it, right? And they're still not doing it. Some defiance is real, right? And you need to be in a position to act on it. You cannot hold your team accountable if you're afraid to lose them. So I just kind of want to make that statement right now. If you're wanting to hold your team accountable to processes in the field, but you are acting, right, and operating with the fear of losing that person, the accountability just will not be there. It just won't happen, right? It subliminally, intuitively, there'll be this like subtle knowledge between, you and the staff to say, hey, at the end of the day, it's like, what can be done, right? I do the main job well. I do these other things that my boss hassles me with. I don't do these other things that my boss hassles me with. I don't feel like I need to do them, right? But I can do the main thing. You can't hold that person accountable if you're afraid to lose them. Oh man, what if they leave? What if I better, yeah, they're right. They got a point. I don't know what I can do. So how do you fix that, right? It's through recruiting. So first, the real problem. Most owners tolerate difficult employees because they feel like they can't afford to lose a body. That's a hiring gap problem, not a management problem. What do I mean by that? I mean that the solution to this problem is fairly straightforward, and it doesn't have anything to do with your management, you working with a person, you needing more time with them, or anything like that. It purely has to do with, am I actively recruiting and hiring, right? Always be recruiting. You've obviously, if you've been with us for some time, you've probably heard us talk about this concept. We're big on this. Contractors always need to be recruiting. Recruiting should not start when someone quits. We need to build a pipeline before we need it. We need to post jobs, take interviews, stay warm with candidates. And the important thing here is to view this as just part of your business. Like I said earlier, view this as much as part of your business. Why do we view this as part of your business? Right? Because in order to have a successful business, this is a key component of it. In order to have a successful business, you have to have a team that follows processes right. And if you have a team that you've done all the things that you can do as the owner, hey, Robert, first slide, I got it. That's not my problem. My problem is the people. Right? Okay, well, you're never going to have a growing, successful business. It's just not going to happen. Why? Because your people aren't successfully following process that allows your business to be in a successful spot. And the only reason why is because we just aren't being intentional about recruiting, right? View it as just part of your business. It's just as much a part of your business as any part of your business. And what happens whenever you are recruiting is there's a power shift, a subtle power shift that happens. A tech who knows you're always talking to candidates behaves differently than one that knows they're irreplaceable. You got to change that mentality, that irreplaceable mentality. So the biggest gap in this process is time. As an owner, you're wearing all the hats. Everything's dependent upon you. Robert, I want to hire, but I don't have time. The first thing I want to say is you do have time. Just know that that's not true. You can make this happen. You can make it work. It may require being intentional about your efforts, but you can develop a system to make this work, to always have a pipeline of candidates that you're staying warm. How do you do that? The two ways you do that. You can follow the Redmond growth hiring system. It's completely designed. The entire hiring system that we have is designed assuming that the owner you as an owner have very limited time. Second option that I'd recommend is to check out Contractor Staffing Source. I think they cost like $1,500 a month. I think we've had a few clients sign up with them that have gotten great results. I'm trying to think of who that is. Russells, did you guys start using them or no? Or did we only talk about it?
We have an onboarding meeting tomorrow with Paul.
Okay, sweet. So you guys are moving forward with it. There was another client that like started using them and found a project manager in like a month or month and a half, like right after they started using them. And so if the time thing is a constraint, which that can be a real constraint, if you're like, Robert, even following the Redmond growth hiring system is a time constraint, that's okay. There's another solution out there, Contractor Staffing Source. The concept is find a way to always be recruiting. This is just a part of your business as anything else. Find a way to do it, and not having enough time. While I understand that there is a validity in that, we can't just discount the whole enterprise because we don't have enough time. We've got to find a way to push through. You cannot, kind of closing thought, you cannot hold your team accountable if you're afraid to lose them. Recruiting gives you that freedom. When you're regularly recruiting, you have the confidence to hold the line. All right. Let's get into Google reviews. Getting Google reviews in the field. Google reviews are one of the highest leverage growth tool. Yeah, before I begin, Dalen, what's up?
So what you just spoke on is, it all sounds good, but in my industry, I don't know if it's touchable. And I know that sounds negative, but how do you go at it when there's pretty much a top dollar paid for good service techs? They're comfortable where they're at. The only time you can really get a good one is if they get pissed off and leave, because every owner knows at this point that they've got to do all these things to retain an employee, and collectively, the majority are scared because they know the good techs aren't lying down the block. To have somebody come straight in, get in a truck, they are ready to do exactly what you need them to do is not really existent in the plumbing industry. And that's talking with guys on pages all over the place, from California to New York to Florida.
Yeah. So here's what my question would be. What are you doing right now to recruit people, like actively?
I go to, I'll spend on a weekly basis a few hours in the supply houses and talk to guys. Not walk up to them and say, hey, are you looking for a job? Just kind of, it's a process that I've done, and where you kind of sit at the counter, you just small talk. And then the next time I see him, I'll kind of get a little closer to where I want to be in conversation. And once we get to the conversation, it's like, man, I'm really happy. I'm comfortable where I'm at. It would be silly to make a lateral move, and to make a move up. I don't necessarily know how really you can make that.
So real quick. So the process is you go to the supply house for a few hours. You don't necessarily ask people if they're looking for a job, but you just drum up small talk. Hopefully the opportunity to talk about employment may come up, and that's the recruiting process.
Pretty much. I've got Indeed, but away from that, it's just organic in the supply house, kind of a small process there, trying to get my foot in there and not seem.
So for sake of time, I'm gonna just, I know I'm cutting you off, but for sake of time, I need to. So what I would tell you is that while there may be some truth to what you're saying, like bro, I'm definitely aware of how plumbers talk about the lack of good journeymen out there. You know, like we've been doing this for a long time. We've worked with a lot of plumbing companies all over the country. So what I say is, I say that to say, like, I don't want it to sound like I'm just discounting what you're saying, because I know it's a real thing. I'm not discounting it. But already I'm hearing that there's a lot more that could be done, right? That's not being done right now, that can change that kind of perspective. And that's where the two options of, hey, the Redmond growth hiring system with contractor staffing source really comes in, right? It's asking yourself, okay, that's a good thing to do. I think I don't want to make it sound like I'm poo-pooing on drumming up conversation at the supply house. I think that's a great thing to do. I wish more plumbers would do that, right? But I'm also hearing that there's a lot more that can be done. And those candidates are out there. It's more of a perception that they aren't there than it is a reality. I think a great group talk to watch would be the call that we did with Paul Sandeman, the head of this company I'm talking about, Contractor Staffing Source, because he talks about how, he straight up says, no, there isn't a hiring problem. He's like, there isn't a shortage of candidates. He's like, there's plenty of them out there. Just business owners don't have always the capacity to do what needs to be done to find them, which is why we are in business, right? That's kind of his whole selling point. And so I hear what you're saying, but my biggest encouragement to you is be careful of the assumptions you're buying into. There's more that can be done, right? And we are definitely aware of, like, I'm not making these always be recruiting recommendations as a way to say, like, oh, it's easy to find people, right? All you got to do is recruit them. And I get the shortage thing, but there's more that can be done is what it sounds like. So moving on here. So getting Google reviews in the field, right? Google reviews are one of the highest leverage growth tools for any contractor, but how do you get them, right? So we're going to be going over some of that. So why techs don't ask? Why don't techs ask for Google reviews? It's silly reasons. They feel awkward. They forget. They don't see the upside, right? I did the job. That should be enough. I'm a technician. I don't have to ask for Google reviews. No one showed them how. That's the biggest one, right? So some of this is going to be a reminder, right? Some of these points are going to be a reminder, but again, it's an opportunity to say, hey, are we really doing all that we can? So QR codes, business cards, right? Cards linking to your Google listing, handed out to each customer. Tech barely has to say a word, right? It's in the Google review. Now, we believe that tech should do more than just hand someone a card. However, just handing someone a card is better than just doing nothing, right? It's a low cost, easy way to get Google reviews. Make sure your techs are equipped with those. We can make those for you at Redmond Growth. That's something we do. Make sure you're incentivizing the tech, right? $10 to $20 per review when their name is mentioned. Now they have skin in the game. If you're incentivizing your techs, make sure it's real, right? Like, make sure if you're offering them a certain price point that you're actually paying them that, you're paying them timely, right? Make that bonus seem real. The companies I've seen get the most Google reviews are massively incentivizing their tech, giving them $15 to $20 per review. Oh, Robert, that's expensive. It's actually a very inexpensive way to grow your Google business profile, right? When compared to other kind of marketing activities and the costs associated. So incentivize, script the ask. This is probably the biggest thing I want to cover here today. Okay. If you have a tech that's not asking for Google reviews, what I want you to do with that tech is do the uncomfortable thing that most business owners aren't willing to do or don't do, which is call that tech in and say, hey, we need to start getting you more Google reviews. Walk me through how you're asking someone for a Google review right now. Okay, great. Here's how I want you to do it. Then you as the owner, role play with them, right? We're taking responsibility, right? We're taking ownership. Role play how to get the Google review, then have the tech role play back to you, and then watch what happens when you send that tech back out in the field. That person's going to start getting Google reviews. And then lastly, a customer incentive. Offer a small discount for leaving a review. Make it easy to say yes. The best time to get a review is at the end of the job whenever a customer's happy. You don't just hand them the card. The tech says, hey, I'm so glad that you were happy. By the way, I get a small incentive if you leave a Google review before I head out the home today. Here's a card. All you got to do is take your phone out, scan it, mention my name. And if you can do that before I head out the door, we'll also give you a small incentive. Is that something you think you'd want to do real quick? If your tech is doing that with the customer, you're going to start getting a lot of Google reviews. And that's all it takes. That's literally all it takes. Hand the QR code out. Tech mentions, hey, I get a bonus if you help me out. So now there's like this altruism psychology we're playing into. I get a bonus if you help me out. But you got to do it before I leave, right? Mention my name in the review. Glad you had a great time. Here's a QR code to scan it. Also, if you do it before I leave, you get a discount. Does that sound like something you want to do? And then you just wait for the response. They're going to say yes nearly every time, right? Really easy way to get Google reviews. We've had some companies get, just a handful of Google reviews at a time, that 2 to 3 a month, 5 a month. And that's, that's good. That's progress. But then we have other companies that are getting like 50 a month. And the companies that are doing that are doing exactly what I just said. They train their techs to do exactly that, and they role play with them, right? That's how you get more Google reviews from your techs. Techs typically don't ask because of some sort of mental friction. That was all that stuff I went over earlier, right? Just mental friction, just resistance. Remove the friction and build confidence through role play. Build the incentive, then train the behavior. Okay, next thing here, flat rate price books and offering options. Stop letting techs sell from their own wallets. You can't, here's the core insight. You can't expect a technician to sell well without giving them the right tool first. You cannot expect a tech to sell well if they're not equipped to sell well. If we are equipping them to sell well, if we're preparing our techs to sell by giving them kind of a vague system, vague understanding, a lot of room for error, there's going to be problems that arise. If we're getting techs to sell and they're giving customers one options, we're not going to sell as much. These are just objectively true things, right? So here's the idea. Without a price book of some kind, problems increase. And you may be thinking, well, hey, Robert, how is this relevant for my construction business? So for a construction business, you're not going to have like a price book of, hundreds of different bathroom options that are like in a flat rate price. But what you can have is a written down process of doing the estimate and arriving at your final price, right? That would be like the construction company's equivalent. Without a price book, techs are winging it in the moment. This leads to smaller ticket totals, more errors, and personal judgment begins to creep in. We have a whole nother slide on this here in just a second. Your techs are great techs. They are great at the job typically. They are great electricians. They are great HVAC techs. They are great plumbers. They're typically great at the job. They are not business people. Do not delegate business decisions or decision-making to people who are technicians. Your technicians are not business people. They will not naturally do the right thing business-wise because they're not trained in that. That's not who they are. You don't want to leave your business to them. So why do we want to do flat rate? So flat rate removes the guesswork, it protects your margins, and empowers your techs to present confidently. There's no guessing games that they're playing, right? They get on the job, they diagnose the issue, then they give the customer options. The prices are predetermined, right? Why do we want to do options? We want customers to feel in control of the decision. Delivering options both increases average ticket totals and it increases customer satisfaction because the customer feels like they're the ones that made the decision that they can stand by, right? Not just, here's your only option. Do you want to do it? Well, the tech kind of just made that decision for me. And then lastly, a presentation wins trust. A tech who comes in with a price book, multiple options, is presenting those options on an iPad or something, and follows process will close more than the honest guy coming in without those things. I'm not saying necessarily anything about dishonesty. I'm actually saying something about pride here. As a lot of contractors pride themselves in, oh, I'm the honest guy, right? Like we don't wear the button-up shirts and We don't need the iPads and we don't need the price book because we're good technicians and we come in and we do like an honest work. And all that may be true. I'm not saying that that's not true. All I'm saying is that the guy who comes in with the price book with multiple options and the iPad and all that will just objectively close more. Like that just will happen. Why? Because the customer understands that without the tech even saying anything, oh, this guy's prepared. There's a process that's being followed. I'm not being taken advantage of. I can trust this person. I can trust this person with my dollars. Right? That's what we're talking about. Dalen, what's up, buddy? Oh, you're muted, brother.
What you were just saying is good. And I think a good word of advice is to not teach your guys too much, because you can teach your guys into a businessman standpoint. That's how I became a business owner, is I was taught so much by my previous employer, and he gave me so much knowledge that I realized at a point, hey, I can do this on my own. And I had the basic systems to move forward. So you got to kind of keep it on rails on how far and how much about the business side that you teach your techs, because you can teach them into their own business.
Yeah, I think that's good, which is, we want to be teaching them the in-field stuff, what we're talking about. I wouldn't necessarily recommend to pull your team, like your techs in on marketing meetings and show them how you're getting leads and how you necessarily even build your price book or run your software or making those decisions. I also think that if someone's going to start their own business, that they're going to probably end up starting it anyway. And whether or not you give them the knowledge, like they're going to find that. So I also just wouldn't be too concerned about it. Right. I think like techs, if they're the kind of person that are motivated enough to start their own thing, like they're going to figure out a way to start their own thing. You know what I mean? And so, one of my favorite quotes from a guy named Lee Cockrell, who is kind of like a Zig Ziglar type of motivational speaker. He was like one of the best Toastmaster speakers for a number of years, Golden Gavel winner. Something that he talks about is he's like, talking about team training. And he's like, well, I hear a lot of people say like, Lee, I don't want to train my team because I train them, I invest so much in them, and then they just leave. And they just leave. They go do their own thing or they go join someone else. And it's like, and then Lee Cockrell just responds. He's like, okay, I hear you. That's real. He's like, but what happens if you don't train your team and your whole entire team stays and they don't leave? And now you're stuck with a team that's just not trained, right? So kind of emphasizing the point of whether or not someone leaves or goes, you want to train them, right? Okay, silent margin killer, the number one silent margin killer, selling out of their own wallet, right? What am I talking about here? I'm talking about a tech arriving at the job. Maybe they're in a lower income neighborhood. They're looking at the house, they're looking at the car, right? They're seeing the thing. They're seeing that the system needs to be replaced. They're seeing that the water heater needs to be replaced. They're like, oh, this person can never afford that, right? So I'm just going to offer to replace the pilot light. I'm just going to, replace the Freon. Right, I'm just going to do a temporary repair. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about selling out of their own wallet. Your techs look at the customer's house, they make a judgment call about what they can afford, and they adjust the price accordingly. And it's not that they're being dishonest, they're just projecting their own financial situation onto the customer, right? So the problem is techs pre-discount in their head based upon the neighborhood, car in the driveway, how the customer is dressed, whatever. The fix is by having a price book. Don't leave it up to someone's personal call. Don't even leave it up to someone's ability to make a judgment call and give their own price. The only options that they have are the options that are in the price book. Present it and then let the customer decide. A tool that we recommend, probably the best one that has been around and is still here, is Profit Rhino. Many of you guys use Profit Rhino. Profit Rhino is a price book built for service technicians that is really simple to put together. And it's a whole interface that works on the iPad that presents good, better, best options, right? And it's all just built into one software. So it's like, well, Robert, I want to present options. I want to have a price book, but like, I don't know how to do these things. I would look into Profit Rhino. And so all that to say is that you fix the problem of selling out of their own wallet by not letting there be a problem. I remember one time I was doing a walkthrough actually in Seattle, and we were in this part of Seattle called Kent, Washington. And if you're familiar with the Seattle area, then you're going to know where Kent is. And Kent is not like it's a lower income neighborhood. And I remember I walked into the job site and this house was just like trash, man. Like the carpet was all jacked up. There was all this stuff all over the walls, pots and pans out everywhere, like toys everywhere. Like the house just looked like a wreck. I remember immediately I thought to myself, like, oh, dude, we're never going to sell anything to this person. Like I immediately anticipated them wanting the special price or whatever. But what did we do? We followed our pricing system regardless. We offered them a price. We gave them an estimate. They closed for a initial $14,000 remodel. And then they added another $16,000 in change orders, making it a 30K plus job. Here I came in with all these judgments, all these assumptions, right? I started to slip in myself of selling out of my own wallet. And I just took a pause and said, hey, you know what? We have a process. We're a business that follows process. We follow these process because we have to for our business to perform like we need it to perform. So we're just going to offer them the price for the scope of work, and we offer them the price and they accept it. Do not sell out of your own wallets. Last thing I want to cover here is field process compliance, right? And this is like, how do we get people to actually do the other stuff in the field? How do we get them to add before and after photos? How we get notes added every ticket, tickets closed out properly, software used correctly, right? It's how we get them to follow the process in the field beyond just sales and getting Google reviews. So there's kind of a method that I think is really easy to remember as an owner. How you get anyone to follow process is you expect, you inspect, and you correct, right? Techs typically skip stuff. Why? Because it feels like extra work. Feels like it's not going to benefit them. Expect, inspect, correct. It connects the dots for people. So what do we mean? Number one, expect. Set the standard clearly. Set the system clearly. Get it in writing. Say it out loud. Reiterate your standards in your system, right? Never assume a tech knows what done right looks like. Be thorough, be consistent, create a system, make sure we're communicating that system clearly. That's the expect portion. We are setting clear expectations and we're giving people a clear path to follow it. Number two, inspect. The structure of your business makes all the difference in whether or not this is actually done. The structure of your meetings makes all the difference in whether or not this is actually done. In your weekly team meetings, spot check your tickets, photos, and closed job. Review your KPIs in your team meeting. Right? Create a culture of follow-up and accountability. If the KPIs aren't meeting the mark, we inspect a little bit further. Okay, what's happening here that's causing us to miss something? Right? Where is the gap? Right? I see we're doing good in these KPIs and we drop off here. It probably means that we're not following this part of the system. And then correct. Correct in the moment and refer back to the system. Have fast feedback loops. Drive real behavior change. We're constantly getting feedback. We're constantly referring back to the system. We're building the system. The process is the authority, right? And we're giving a feedback loop in order to get back to it. And kind of to set your expectations as an owner, like mentally prepare to need to give your team 1,000 nudges, like back to the right step. Just mentally prepare, hey, this is going to take me reminding people of this all the time. And that's just a part of the job. That's just part of it. Do not get frustrated and impatient if the first 1 or 2 times they're still not getting it. Have that patience, refer back to the system, right? Those defiance issues will come clearly. Most of the time it's not a defiance issue. You'll know when it's a defiance issue. right? But expect, inspect, correct. Techs rise to the standards that are actually enforced. And if I were to leave you with one thought today, that's the thought I want to leave you with. Because that thought, techs rise to the standards are actually enforced, it empowers you as the owner to take really ownership of techs not meeting standards, right? It's an opportunity to look, okay, how well are we enforcing these standards? How well are we training these standards? How well are we building these standards within our team? Are we saying them and they're just hoping it happens? Or are we being consistent and thorough and making sure it happens? So a few action items for this week based upon the talk. Number one, if you have a challenging employee that's not following process, isn't getting Google reviews, whatever, run one role play with them. Do a role play before the end of this week. Schedule it for tomorrow. I think about that employee that you're having problems with. Think about the issue that you're having. Schedule a role play with them tomorrow. Plan with your coach how to begin recruiting now, right? Don't wait for vacancy. Now, if we're working on other things that are leading us to a position where we can begin recruiting, right? If we're focusing on marketing, right? Follow the coach's focus, follow the lead, right? But if the problem is enforcing, standards, if the problem is manage the team, if the problem is getting the team, plan with your coach how to begin recruiting. If you're having problems getting Google reviews, set a time next week for the whole team to come in and thoroughly train them on getting Google reviews, role play with them, follow those steps I mentioned. Get a flat rate price book in place, or make a plan to do it, or make a plan to demo software. Schedule a demo with Profit Rhino, right? And then pick one field process and start inspecting it every week. Review your normal KPIs in your normal meeting, but over the next 14 meetings, plan one specific thing you're going to look into deeper with the team in each meeting and watch things begin to change. So the gap between what you want your team to do and what they actually do is almost always a communication and systems gap. And that's fixable, but it starts with you. So all that to say is I know we're out of time here. I really appreciate some of the questions that came up, Dalen, as we were talking. I am going to still be available here for a little bit if there's other questions, right? If not, we'll go ahead and, I'll just go ahead, even if there's questions. Let's close out with 3, 2, 1 growth, and then Lance, I'll hop into your question, buddy. All right, guys. So if you're new to the group, here's what we do. We count down from 3. After I say 1, we all say the word growth together, right? So we unmute our mics. Everyone unmute your mics. I'll get the countdown. Say the word growth after 1. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Grow!
Grow!
Appreciate you guys very much. Thanks for tuning in today. Lance, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, I was going to say something for the whole group, actually, especially if everybody that's kind of new to this process or working with Redmond. I've been with Redmond over a year now. One of the things you went back to, kind of like the owner's responsibility. So every week, every meeting we have, there's always these great topics and these great ideas and great thoughts. And I feel like a downfall that we kind of had to work through at first, but from my perspective, was that we were consistently like hearing something new and then trying to implement it right away, or making all these quick changes with not realizing the impact it was having on like giving our people new information that was sometimes conflicting of like what I said a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And it was like all of this changing information. And so I would just suggest to anybody that's starting out or just hearing this information, a lot of this is really new. Take time to process it, take time to consult, maybe your coach or a business partner or an associate or spouse, somebody that you trust, and then implement it and then talk about it with your people. So you're not like shifting goals and shifting directions week to week every time you have a meeting with your coach. I feel like that's really valuable kind of insight from our perspective towards you, Robert.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And you notice like with the action items, a number of them talked about like planning with your coach, right? Not just immediately running, necessarily doing something, but actually taking time to work with your coach, because we don't want to fix everything at once. Like intentionally, like our program is designed that way. You'll notice on every agenda, like on your agenda, it's like the biggest roadblocks, the biggest bottlenecks. We don't want to put more than 2 there. We're not trying to solve more than 2 problems at once. And so there's a lot of information that we share here with people just because people are in all different stages, right? And a lot of the stuff from this talk, it's like what I want to leave behind is, hey, like take what's relevant and applicable now. Are you in a situation where you're having a problem with employees following process? If so, here are some insights. Here are some solutions. Here are some opportunities to measure yourself, right? Okay, am I really doing everything I thought I was doing, or can there be more that's done? But that doesn't necessarily mean, just go out and start doing stuff. I mean, one of the things that was almost assumed in this talk was that you're already having a weekly team meeting. Well, some of you may be at a point where you have not yet to do that, and that's okay. We're going to get there, right? But we want to do things one step at a time. And so I think that's really poignant, really well said. And yeah, I would default to working with your coach, following your team, or working with the team, and making sure that you as the owner, like, fully understand the thing before we're going to our team with it. That's why one of the things I mentioned, hey, are you following the system? Do you have the system written down? Like, take time to do those first steps, right? Before you just expect the team to follow a process like, oh man, there's some room for me to do some work here, or maybe we need to fully build this thing. And so, yeah, I think that's really good. Any other questions? Anything else? Cool, guys. Well, I appreciate it so much. What we're going to go ahead and do is we will, I think by tomorrow, we'll go ahead and send out this talk if you want to review it. I'll also have the team send out this like slideshow that I got today. So you can have all the notes, you can listen to the talk, go back to the notes, you can, pick stuff from it. But yeah, guys, so appreciate everyone being here today. And Ben, looking forward to getting to meet you and some of you other new guys. First time seeing you. Terrence Tate, great to see you. And yeah, we'll be meeting here soon during onboarding. But everyone have a great rest of the week.